Well, hi everybody. Joanie Somes here with On the Road to Safer Senior Driving. And today we're going to talk about car fit. So car fit to me is one of those really wonderful ways you can increase driver safety. And interestingly enough, they tend to send older drivers to car fit. Anybody could benefit from going to a car fit class. I'm just going to say, I'm going to put it out there. I will tell you that if you see a car fit event that's being offered, sign up. They're free. It costs you nothing. All you need to do is sign up online. Typically, it takes about 20 to 25 minutes to be fit in your vehicle to make sure you fit appropriately. We typically also give away free stuff. And our whole goal when we do car fit is to help you survive a crash. We've had many people not want to come to car fit because they think we're going to take away your keys. But what we do know is that if you are fitted correctly in your vehicle, you will survive a crash a lot better. So this is what you kind of can expect when you come to a car fit event. First, you will enter and arrive at the check-in station. They will then send you to the check-up station, who then sends you to the check-out station where you get your free stuff. So you've got to go to the last one to get the free stuff, and everybody seems to like the free stuff the most. So I borrowed my mom and my brother's car, and I said, will you be my car fit model? And she said, sure. And some people will say, well, does your mom really drive? And she actually doesn't, but she was a great model, and she was a lot of fun when we did that. So here you can see me and my mom. She's in my brother's car, and we're welcoming her, and that's exactly what will happen when you check in. Someone will welcome you. They'll check to see if you're wearing your seatbelt. They do have you sign a waiver, and if you don't sign the waiver, you cannot progress any further, but ultimately it just says that we're not responsible for anything that happens while you're there. We give you the clipboard with your check sheet, which you then will go to the check-up station, which is just a little bit further along in the event. Now, I don't know if you can actually see very closely. My mom has a co-pilot, and my mom's co-pilot was not seat belted in. And it's okay to have a dog in your car, but I will tell you they should be wearing their seat belt, and you need to make sure that they're not a distraction when you're driving. So one of the questions we will just initially start out with is, does your seatbelt fit correctly? Are you wearing it correctly? Does it reach across your collarbone and across your pelvis as depicted in the picture there? We once in a while run into someone wearing it under their arm. That's not a good place to do it. It needs to be over your collarbone because that will keep you from flying forward if the car is in a forward collision. One of the things a lot of folks don't realize is there's a little clip on the post of the door that you can lower your seatbelt and actually adjust your seatbelt so it then comes across your chest rather than coming across your neck. Because as you noticed, it was kind of hitting Mom a little high on the collar there. So we just simply slid the seatbelt down a little bit, and guess what? It fit her much better. And now if she was driving, it wouldn't be catching her in the neck. Now, one of the things I didn't add a picture about is pacemakers. A lot of people have questions. Well, I shouldn't wear my seatbelt because I have a pacemaker. What we have learned is pacemakers are tough. And unless you just had your pacemaker put in, you're much safer wearing your seatbelt and wearing it correctly than it is to say, well, I'm not going to wear it right because I want to save my pacemaker. Your pacemaker will survive a crash even if the seatbelt holds you in because they are tough. And my favorite line when I was researching this was from a cardiologist. He said, St. Peter doesn't give you a pass if you're not wearing your seatbelt and using your pacemaker as an excuse. And I thought that's a pretty good line. The second thing we do when you're at the car fit event is we look to see how well you can see over your steering wheel. And I added in a line so that you could see that if Mom was trying to look over the steering wheel, she actually wasn't looking over it. She was looking through the steering wheel between the little space between the dash and the rim of the steering wheel. That's not really good vision as you're trying to drive. So we needed to do something a little bit about that. And this is just a picture with the door open and the line again showing that she is not got good vision. All we needed to do was have her sit up in her seat a little bit better, and we found all we had to do was raise the seat, and already you can see that she is looking over the steering wheel, not through the steering wheel. And in fact, what we do is we give you a card that's about 3 inches tall and have you sit it on top of the steering wheel, and if you could still look over it and see what's going on. And typically there's a helper that will be in the front who will go to the front of the car and can look to see if they can see the person's eyes. The second thing that we will measure, and you can see the arrows that will help us a little bit here, is the space between the steering wheel and the person's chest, as well as to make sure that there's enough room between the legs and the bottom of the steering wheel. What we would like to see happen is that there's at least 10 inches of space between the steering wheel and the person's chest. And the reason for that is it's related to the airbag. If that airbag deploys or blows out because you're in a crash, if you're closer than 10 inches away, it can actually cause damage to your sternum, it can cause damage to your collarbones, and if it's angled incorrectly, it can actually angle up and hit you in the chin. And then last but not least, we need to make sure she can still hit the pedals. Can she reach? So this is what we did to make sure all of those things worked really very well. The first thing we did was we moved the seat forward a little bit so that Mom could actually reach the pedals, not only the gas, but also the brake. What we wanted to do was we wanted to collapse her steering column down. So there's a lever on your steering column that you can unlock that steering column. And what we did was we pushed that steering column in all of the way and then relocked it and made sure it was down far enough so that when Mom crashes her car, hopefully never, that airbag will actually come out at her chest rather than at her chin. So by the time we got done collapsing the steering column, moving the car seat forward, having her sit up just right, and remeasuring, she was 10 inches away from that airbag. And should that airbag deploy, it will now hit her in the chest rather than in the chin or with so much force that it will break her sternum. We also talked a little bit about how Mom drove. Many of us that are older hung onto the wheel at the 10 and 2 position. What we have learned is when the airbag deploys, it has a tendency to push the arms out like this. It can fracture your thumb. It can also burn your wrists. And occasionally some people, if they drive like this, it will come back and hit them right in the face. So what we told Mom is she needs to get her hands down a little bit further. If she can get her hands at more of the 4 and the 8 spot, she's a lot safer because if her arms go out, she's not going to hit herself. The area where the heat from the airbag comes out from the top of the column, so down here she's not going to get burns, and if she's hanging down here, she's not going to hit herself in the face. The next thing we checked was how was the headrest. And you might notice that Mom's headrest was up a little bit and it really did not protect his head as well as it should. Her ears should line up with the middle of that headrest. Most headrests have 2 little buttons that you can squeeze and then push it down. And in the long run, when we pushed hers down, it was tight against the top of the seat, but her head now rested against the headrest, so that if she was rear-ended, instead of her head going way back like we did in the exercises last session, it would cradle up against that headrest, and it would save her neck and make it feel a lot better. As you're looking at Mom, you notice she's actually looking like she's looking over the steering wheel. She's got her feet are almost down to the pedals, and she looks a lot more comfortable in this vehicle, and she fits much better. So if she were in a crash, she would be having less chances of being hurt. Now the complicated part, although this is the part that everybody seems to like the best, the mirrors. What we've learned is a lot of folks don't have their mirrors adjusted the way they need to be. So if you think about the rear view mirror, when you look up at that rear view mirror, it should center the back of your back window, and you should be able to see what's going on across the entire back area of your car. The driver's side, you should be able to see what's happening on that side, obviously. And the passenger side, you should see what's going on the other side. So let's talk a little bit about mirrors. Basically, when your mirrors are correctly adjusted, you should be able to look from your rear view mirror, just glance down to your side mirror, and you will see a vehicle that's coming from the back, you should be able to see them as they pass you on this side. If they're coming from the passenger side, look in the rearview mirror. As they start to pass you, you look over to the driver's side mirror, you should be able to see them. But we've learned a lot of people have their passenger and their driver's side mirrors too closely adjusted so that they're not getting as much visual clues from their environment as they should. One of the technicians will typically try to help simulate blind spots, and this is what we call blind spots, when you can't see what's going on. So the technician will walk by and we will determine where you stop seeing that car coming. Then what we'll do is we will have you adjust your mirror. And this picture does a really cool job of describing that. Basically what you're going to do is just put your head over a little bit so you're almost next to the window, and then reach down and adjust your driver's side mirror so that instead of seeing the whole driver's side of your car, all you see is that back corner. Then lean over to the center console and do exactly the same thing on the passenger side. So all you're seeing is that little back corner of your own vehicle. What happens with that is you basically take that blind spot on the top where you don't see that truck coming up on you, and as you adjust out, you now suddenly see that car coming up on the left-hand side. Or if you're looking out, you can see them coming on the right-hand side. So simply by adjusting your mirrors outward a little bit, you actually get a much better view of what's going on around behind you. The other little cool part about this that we don't always talk about is, you know when that car behind you, the light reflects from your mirror into your face? By outwardly adjusting your mirrors, it gets rid of that reflection as well. Last but not least, remember we had the assistant walk by. We actually have them stop when you can no longer see that pretend car coming at you and say, I don't see them anymore. And then have the driver look like Mom is looking right now to see where her blind spot started. Well, the cool part it's right where when she turns her head, she can see this vehicle. But what you'll find is you have much better vision around what's going on with your vehicle if you can adjust your mirrors out a little bit more. The next step that we talk about when we do car fit is, where are your turn signals? Do you know where they go? Where is your hazard lights? We found out 50% of people don't know where their hazard light button is, so we end up showing them where they are. Do you know how to turn on your high beams? Do you know where your windshield wipers are? Do you know where your parking brake is? And is it on when you've been driving? Because we actually had a lady last week who'd been driving with her parking brake on. We talk about your technology controls. Do you know what they are? And last but not least, we actually make you turn on your signals and turn on your brake lights or step on your brake to make sure that all of your lights are working. It's kind of a safety check, and we don't pass or fail you, but it's one of those things, if you get them fixed between when we see you and the cop sees you, it might save you a ticket. The last thing we do is we have you beep your horn, because we want to know, number one, what does it sound like? But number two, it tells us that our person is going to be moving. Here I am. Mom just stepped on her brake lights, and guess what? They worked, so she's not going to get a ticket for that. We've gone through the 12-point checklist that would happen at the car fit event. So then what happens is the technician would give the clipboard to Mom, and I would tell her, now I'm going to have you move forward and you're going to see an occupational therapist. Again, honk your horn as you move, because that tells everyone that a car is moving. I could go through every one of these 12 points once again, but we just did. And ultimately, all of these things tend to make you safer in your vehicle. Here's just a pre-picture of Mom and a post-picture of Mom. I don't know where the dog went, but obviously Mom is looking over the wheel now. She's close enough that she can reach the pedals, but she's far enough away that if the airbag is deployed, she will not be hurt as bad as she could be. Some other things, just when you come to car fit, remember I said you're going to go see the occupational therapist. They have a lot of fun things that they can share with you that might be helpful if you're driving or having difficulty getting in and out of your vehicle. On the top picture is, if you can't reach your seatbelt, there's actually a holder that you can put on your seatbelt to help you bring it across. If you have keys for your car, not everybody does anymore, but there's a way that you can hang on to them better. down in the bottom right corner, they even got a lazy Susan for your butt, so that if you have trouble getting in and out of your car, you can swivel around. The thing in the middle, one of the things there is for your gas cap, which may or may not work for a lot of people anymore, but my favorite tool in the center is being held by that person's hand. It's called a safety handle, and I'm going to show that in the next slide, how Mom was using that to get in and out of her vehicle. Last but not least, some people, even with making the seat go up, still are not high enough. And we have found that sometimes we actually have to put a cushion on the seat so people can actually see over the steering wheel. And as much as we worry that that seat might slide, it gets you so that you can see better. And in the long run, that's what we want to do. So here's Mom using the handy bar, safety handle. It just actually goes right in the latch of your car door, and you can see in the top picture, she's got her hand on it as she goes to stand up. It's helping her to lift herself up and helps ultimately to get in and out of that vehicle easily. Oh, and then remember, I promised free stuff. Many different kinds of free stuff depending upon the car fit event that you go to. Everything from exercise sheets to gadgets and gizmos. There was one, and I'm not promising you'll get it when you go, but there was one car fit, they actually gave away little things to check the pressure in your tires. Some of the local stores will give us coupons for discounts on coffee or donuts and things like that. So don't be afraid to ask for your free stuff. If you found that this was interesting and something that you want to do, and you do want to do this, to find a car fit event around you, if you just go to car-fit.org, it lists the locations car fit is being held. I will tell you many senior centers offer car fit events, so watch for the ads that they have for them. When you see it, sign up for an appointment, because the appointment tells you when you can come, and you don't just have to hang around for the whole event. You can come at like 2:20, even though the event started at 1 o'clock, and know that you will have your appointment at 2:20. Remember, this is an easy way to increase your driver safety. It's free. All you have to do is sign up. It only takes 20 to 25 minutes. You get free stuff. Our goal is to help you survive a crash, not take away your keys. If you can't find a car fit event locally, you can go to CarFit On Demand online. You won't get any free gifts, but you can run through all of the different steps that we'll go through when we're doing an in-person car fit event. The other way is that you can just simply go to a guided online session. Again, carfit.org. And this way you can watch it rather than being it. But it teaches you how to adjust your seat, adjust your steering wheel, fix your seat belt, fix your head restraint. All things that will keep you safer behind the wheel. I should warn you, those of you who think, well, maybe this will take care of the senior discount related to my car insurance, CarFit does not replace a senior driver safety discount, but I will tell you, it does make you safer in your vehicle. So thanks for listening about CarFit, and tune in next time. We're going to talk about occupational therapists and driver rehabilitation specialists.